All right. I've been making a lot of videos. And the reason why I make videos is because as we're being manipulated, target individual, there's a lot of mind games and manipulations. The reason why those are happening is part of the way they can control us, and the way control is applied onto us is because they have to they have to break you down. Matter of fact, before I made this video, I hear these perps talking to me, saying the things I'm about to say because I know that they are in my brain. And obviously, as I'm formulating the words, they can see what words I'm going to bring up, I'm going to say. And matter of fact, they can even control the words I'm going to make up, I'm going to say. As you can see, me talking right now, it's a struggle because I know that I'm not speaking just for myself. There is some control in my speech. This is the reality of what this program is. I am never going to see these people for what they want to present themselves, but I will see them for truly what this is about. I'm a TI. I'm a target individual. I'm a test subject. The government has been utilizing human beings for years, for decades and decades. I mean, prior to me even living, prior to me being born, they've been using human subject in order to improve technology that's been it's already very sophisticated, but the reason why it got this sophisticated is because they've been using human subject for a long time, and they've been using the same system but with more precision with the technology, right? And the reason why you see this picture is because you're going to hear how they want me to start processing what's happening to me. And the reason why I make the same videos is because these people really truly want you to subscribe to this manipulation. Throughout the day, every time I looked at certain things, they force me to do something to me. And I'm going to explain why those specific things. And throughout the day, these people, as I was going through the laundry, and the people, they were all trying to make me accept this manipulation. But the reality is we're just super validated. Because even though there's nothing we can do about this, this been done to so many other people that some people have collected all these things happening to them. There's certain symptoms they've been using onto us. There's certain symptoms that almost all target individuals are saying. And it's very aligned with what I'm going through. It's very aligned with many others have said. So there's a pattern of what they do. It's consistent. It's the most consistent, systematic thing that you can hear. It's almost, like I say, it's surreal. It's scary to hear that people will say the exact same thing while this program continuously try to make you think in this stupid way. No, let me repeat that. As you can see, what I just experienced is what you called forced speech. It's something that you're going to hear that they're capable of doing. Now, what I'm going to say right now, what I just said, forced speech, you're going to hear somebody else have said that. But what I'm trying to bring up here is target individual. As irrational they want you to think, understand that the validation are so surreal, it's beyond surreal, that you are gaslighted by people who at some points just feel uncomfortable by the surrealness of what the validation we have. At one point they wanted to act accordingly. It's funny, when I see these people in person now, it changed from the beginning. When I didn't know anything about being a target individual, the way they would show themselves, the way they would try to be more visible, they were super visible. And then with time, that visibility kind of decreased. And it's because you're going to hear these things. You're going to hear the true reality of what this is about, and who else has been targeted, who else has been a test subject, and how disgusting and abusive they've been to all kind of people, from children, women, men, all around the world. But this is not for fun. They might enjoy doing it because you're going to hear what they're capable of doing. But it's not just for fun. Matter of fact, most people doing this to me, involved in this actually, are just bottom feeders. You can see them. It's like there's no way that you're the one in charge of this. But I understand you are part of this program that basically continuously improve on the technology that can manipulate the brain. That's truly what it is. It's about mind control. It's about improving technology that can control the mind, but not only the mind, but control the body and do things to your body remotely. It's about continuously using human subject to add a sophistication to a technology that's very, very sophisticated. And to do this, the level of effort that's applied to get to that point is just a lot. You have people all around you. For example, right now, because I'm about to speak in a way that is showing the exact reality of what's happening instead of these manipulations that is disturbing for a purpose. And I will talk about this purpose. There's been neighbors coming out of the door, slamming the door, making noise campaign, talking about some random things, deflecting. Because what they want you to do is to not stay focused on what this is really about, but want you to believe this falsify reality, to cover up reality. The facade is supposed to block the reality of what this is really about. Because it's very disturbing. This reality, what they involved in, this perps who are contracted citizens, contracted civilians, are involved in a program that the government has been running for years and decades. And what I mean by the government, I mean the top tier government. And why am I using the word top tier? You're going to hear why. But the top tier, I mean the Department of Defense. This is not coming from whatever facade of, some of the way they present themselves is just comical. It's truly comical. And they act accordingly, right? The technology that they utilize onto us target individual provides this ability to interact with an individual remotely. This is heard of, this is called V2K, but they also utilize synthetic telepathy. Within this technology of V2K, with the interaction that's remote, these individuals have these ways of interacting with you, and they also create a character when interacting with you. You can hear them changing their tonalities, try to sound nonchalant, try to sound menacing, try to sound fierce. All of that is done remotely. In front of you, man, it's a whole different story. This is the whole different story because, first of all, bravery, remote bravery is like I said, it's remote bravery. It's non-bravery. They don't hide bravery. And matter of fact, this is why this technology is this sophisticated, because you can do horrible things to somebody from afar. So obviously, this is not for the brave. So actually, in my case, at least in many others, we hear people who are like children talking to you. And if they're not even children, they act like children, even when they try to sound like adults. So I read through this immediately, and I hear these people loving this because in real life, their personal life, the way they live their life is they're just truly bottom feeders, but they are just contracted by these governmental entities. This program seems to utilize a lot of mind games. They try to and you're gonna hear that this man said it perfectly. The art of war, right? Try to confuse the enemy and do this. They utilize the same tactic. So they make I hear the interaction from people who are like children, people who you will never take seriously, people that you look at them like you're a clown, even when they talk to you, but that this makes no sense. This clown cannot be. But the reason why they throw this is because they try to confuse you. They try to make you believe this falsified reality. Matter of fact, they even try to make it seem now this is a group of, in my case at least, where this very organization of goodness, this force of this femme fatale, fierce feminist group of women who are fighting and avenging, and you pay, and this is fate that this happened to you because all you've done, and and then you realize the reality of everything they're involved in and what they're participating. So they have created a facade, a delusionality. At this point, I think this facade is no longer for me. I think the facade is for them to kind of cope with the reality, what they're part of. Because you're gonna hear the reality. And if you have any sense of logic and reality, and me saying logic has been manipulated to create these disturbing things. If you have any sense of rationality, you will read between the lines and oh my gosh, this is so obvious, this is so systematic. But their job is to gaslight you. I don't know if gaslighting is the right word because it's way more than just gaslighting. But let's just use the concept of gaslighting. What is gaslighting? Gaslighting is to try to make an individual believe a false reality. And so what happens is you circle this person with people who will act in certain ways to make this targeted individual start believing a false reality, to make that person believe a false reality. This is what gaslighting is. So they do this a version of gaslighting where they want you to believe a reality that they put together. And so by acting accordingly, saying the things that they need to say, there's a lot of repetition, which sounds like pure brainwashing. They say the same thing over to get you to accept these things. Now, for me, I've accepted the reality of what this is truly is, but unfortunately my brain is manipulated. So regardless of me knowing the reality of what it is, they still can bypass reality in my brain because it's not in my control. They control the brain. And so the brain can be hacked in ways to create a false logic, to create a nonsensical rationality. That's what they do. Matter of fact, as I say logic, they bypassed it by implanting something they've disturbed me with. It's continuously brain manipulations that is disturbing, but there's a purpose for all these things they do to us. And it's a game of how can we break him down? How can we confuse him, torment him, and continuously do that? Not for fun. This is not for fun. They're not doing this just for fun. It might be enjoyable, but it's not for fun. There's a purpose that's big here, and it's global. It's for the ability to continuously improve this technology that definitely can manipulate the mind of human beings. And they need samples of all sizes, of ages, they need samples of all kind of people from different cultures, from different ages, from different genders, all kind of people, and use the same tactics and see how they can tweak these things around. What is going to break that person? Now they keep telling me how it's over. It's been over for a long time for me. But I think now I'm more reassured about the reality of things. Now, with that being said, with all the validation I have now, more than ever, my brain is still more and more fried up. My memories are more erased. My thoughts are more manipulatable. I'm more conditioned than ever. So it's over. Like it's that in that case, it will never get to that. I'll never be myself. I'm more or less myself, and I don't know if it makes sense. I'm less myself now than ever. But I'm more validated that these tactics are the tactics they've been using on so many others. And the tactics are very, very specific. And it makes sense. I'm like, okay. And the way they've created this false narrative, and I'm so thankful that I got a chance to make videos about certain things. Sometimes I was like, okay, I made a lot of videos. It doesn't make that much sense. So this is why I'm going to calmly make this video and go step by step. Now, what you see here is a picture of me all the way there. Another picture is a kid in 8th grade. Okay. So you see these people and you understand they're children, right? You will not see these people and think these are adult thinking people. They think like children. You will never ever believe that these people are adults or think like adults. You'll see them and expect them to be children. You will never try to think that these people have a rationality of an adult. You'll see them as kids. And so you expect kids to do things that as adults will not do, because kids have a mind of kids. The developing brain of people that you see there are developing brains of children. At this point, you are not fully formed. Your brain is not fully there. But the reason why I say these obvious things, very obvious things, is because in the mind games that they play, they utilize logic and irrationalities. And I got to change that word because every time they make me, if I say the word logic, this is how they even bypass logic. Irrationality. I have to say the most obvious things because they have removed rationality from reality. And they do everything possible in their job, their war right now. This program consists of remove this person's rationality and start making him or her think in this irrational way. And their job, day in and day out, is to break your rationality and change that into something else. You're going to hear what these people are involved in. And so for me, when I see them, that's what I see them as. And because of that, I guess it's going to be worse for me. Like I said, throughout today, I saw multiple people, and they were just trying to make me accept this nastiness, but tell me how I'm going to be tortured. Now, I'm going to be tortured by individuals who are involved in what you're going to hear. And the governmental entities that run this program, you're going to clearly hear who it is. And please, do not, whatever thing you go through, whatever is happening to your target individual, please do not lose focus on who's running this program, regardless of who you retard. What illogical individuals you see, their job is to really be like, oh, look over here, look over here, look over here, don't look over there, look over here, look at me. Why? Because they don't want you to look at what's really happening to you. They don't want you to see who's really running this program, because you're going to put things in perspective. They want you to stay in this bubble. Say, hey, come over here, look, think about this way. And so they say things random. It's like, oh, you're going to rot in hell. They just say randomly this because they want you to focus about you right in hell, but don't focus about this program that been using test subjects that is inclusive of all gender, all ages, all culture, and done horrible things to them. This is why this person will say right in hell. And they use this tonality, right in hell. And they are so gimmicky. Now, what I just say is, like, you see these two pictures. One is a kid in middle school, 8th grade. One is like a 10-year-old, right? Some of the things they say, and they say in different tonality, is that the things that I'm experiencing today that is breaking me down, that is disturbing me, is what we're doing to you is your brain, right, is now thinking the way you once thought when you were a child around this age. From that age that you see this kid eating to even younger than the kid that you see there that's about 10 years old, and then a bit younger. Now, immediately, if somebody ever said that to you, you will know that these people are, something is not right with them, right? And when they say that, really, they're going to act accordingly. Oh, no, we mapped it. And you just like use the anger. Like, we mapped it. Just remember the anger they have when they say that. Because you're going to hear the reality. And for them, they're going to use whatever they can to get you to accept the manipulation you experienced today. As a matter of fact, they're going to even try to say, we're doing it for that. You're going to pay for that. And then you're going to hear what they do to children, to women, to men. And you're going to hear who's running this program, which is like, okay, you mapped it, right? You working for these top tier governmental entities. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. As I'm saying that, they try to change something else. Now, the background here. I'm going to slowly build to this background, and then we're going to get to listen to everything that shows how dumbed down they have to be while utilizing this most sophisticated technology, and the reason why these individuals that are perps contracted by these top tier governmental entities dumbing themselves down, and what's the purpose of them dumbing themselves down. You're going to hear it at the end of these mind games they play. You see this kid is an 8th grader. You see a child like that, you know this is a child that's capable of doing something stupid, right? Because as a kid, you understand that his mind is not fully developed, and so you have expectation of a child when you see a child. A child is capable of doing things that are impulsive, that maybe if they were adults and thinking in a more developed brain, if they had a more developed brain, they would not do these things. Like I said, I'm saying the most obvious things that everybody around me knows, right? And the reason why it sounds like I'm speaking in this such a wise way, it's just nothing wise about it. It's just the obvious. They are removing rationality. They are completely want you to no longer have rationality, but think in this most irrational way that you can imagine. They want you to think in the most irrational way, and everybody around you will gaslight you to think in this irrational way. And as I'm saying that, they try to create thoughts to counter what I'm saying. It's continuously counter reality. It's continuously counter rationality. And the reason why I'm saying that about this kid is because me, when I was his age, in 8th grade. You see that 8th grade? When I was his age, when I just turned 14 or about to turn 14, I do this thing to myself in middle school, right? I do something to myself in impulsive things, an impulsive thing, singular. And this is something that these people have been utilizing to try to make me believe that this manipulation today, in my late 30s, closer to 40s, is what they're doing today. They are mapping to me at the age of this kid's brain. I have this, like they're making me have the developing brain of this kid on the left. And this is what they're doing to me, right? That this is they're just kind of put things together and remember what you did, and this is what's happening, right? And they still continuously stay in character. They have to. It's the way they're gonna break you down, brainwash you into accepting this manipulation. And this is everything and everybody around you. Just listen to what I'm saying, and then you're gonna listen to some patterns that you're gonna see. And I say pattern for a purpose, because they have been trying to create false pattern. Because this thing I did to myself is something that happened once, typical child impulsiveness, and never even thought of again, never even done, and I never even thought about this moment. Never ever happened again. Now, I'm saying the obvious things, right? I'm not trying to explain myself. It's just I'm saying this out loud because these people want you to take rationality away from you. And so I'm starting from the beginning and show the obviousness of what they do. So you see this child like that doing impulsive things, never do it again, never think about it again, no, don't even remember it immediately when after it's done, because this is what a kid is doing, that has done impulsively, right? As I'm struggling to speak. And so they've been going through my memories and manipulating my memories to create a false pattern, to try to make me believe that this is something that happened multiple times, and try to find where can we change memories where they can create this false pattern. Now, this technology can not only manipulate your current thoughts, but they manipulate your memories. Because one thing you know is, once you manipulate somebody's memories, this can alter the notion of self. Now, you're going to hear that memories are also something they can manipulate. You're going to hear everything I'm going to say. You're going to hear somebody else say that. Matter of fact, if you ever just start Googling, can DARPA manipulate memories? Just look and you'll see the insanity of reality, what's happening, right? DARPA is very secretive. So you're only going to get like a little bit of the truth, just a tiny option, a tiny, like a little bit of the truth, the level and the extension of how sophistications this technology is not going to be revealed. They're gonna say something like, we found out using this, we've been contracting this university, and according to this university, memories can be read and written. Right? This is things they've done for years, but they'll be like, they're just discovering this thing. This is how they keep things on the, they make it seem like it's just like it's in the works, and when all along they've way past that. And so by the time the mainstream is like somewhere, these DARPA entities are so far ahead. So they've been manipulating my memories to create false patterns. But what they do with my memories, the way they create false pattern, instead of like making me maybe like, they go backward. It's like, no, but you see, when you were like that age, when you're about 10 years old, you remember you felt like that, and just start creating stuff. When I'm like 10, when you know what, the year before, when you just turn 13, then they try to create these moments and rewire the reaction I had to something sexual to create this false pattern. And so there's been consistent manipulations of like childhood memories to make me accept what they're doing to me when I'm close to my 40s. Or in my 30s. And be like, no, we mapped it. You felt like that. You remember? And then they make me have this experience and stimulation. It's like, no, you felt like that. I remember when you were a kid, you felt like this. And just give me this stimulation and sensation, which is rewired in different ways. And be like, no, we mapped it. Remember, you felt like that. Can you imagine? Not only they try to manipulate, they bring up you as a kid, but they even manipulate your brain as a childhood, and then they try to bring up a manipulated brain, a feeling that they said you felt when you were like developing completely, not even like a teenager, a preteen, as young as even 8 years old, 9 years old. And so you remember that feeling and just start crying. So you felt like that. You see? Can you imagine? Can you imagine like an 8 years old, 9 year old you? You know how much is going on to you, and try to bring that up and try to say this is that, this is what we mapped it to. It's like we're just mapping it to this. It's like ridiculous. I have people of all level try to make you accept these things, of all level. I mean, I'm talking about professionals, I'm talking about executive, I'm talking about all kind of people of all sorts, day in and day out, try to get you to accept this. Of all sorts. Try to get you to accept these things. Try to make you accept this logic. It is ridiculous, but that's their job. That's part of this tactic of gaslighting you. So for me, they hate when I speak about it like this. Well, they're gonna enjoy the manipulation they can make me have, because as I speak, they can just learn how to force my speech even better. But they hate the fact that I'm speaking in a way that is clear, in the sense of rational. Because it kind of ruins their little creative fantasy, because for them, it helps them to coping. They can act accordingly and maintain this acting gig. They can like maintain by method acting. I think that's the word. Just continuously stay in character. Stay in character. This is a mind game. And they call it war, right? Because in their mind, it's war. But it's not. We're just guinea pigs, but they have to take it as if it's war, because you're gonna hear what's the future of war. It's like they are using war weapons, even though this technology, it can be used for very good things. Unfortunately, for us, target individual is used to destroy us, and they see how they destroy, and not just for destruction purpose. Just not only the destruction is easy. It's easy to destroy any civilian. The government will destroy anybody like easily if they really like, especially the amount of effort. The destruction of a civilian from a DoD entity is like, it's like breathing. It's like blowing air like that. It's just like, that's it. But obviously that's not that. What would they gain out of that? It's not just the destruction. It's to see the best way to destruct the human being cognitively, physically, mentally, and use this database to continuously to improve this technology. And so, every day I hear these people, they contract childlike-minded people to do this every day. And they're like, oh, we destroyed you. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's like, it's such a gimmicky thing to say. It's like saying the DoD destroyed you. What? The most powerful entity in the world, destroy you as a single civilian with limited resources. It's comical. But they say that, and then they use this tonality because they want you to still see them in this. And they want you to believe, hey, look at me, look at me, we're this. Instead of reality of look at who's behind them. Look who's not even behind them. Look who's really there. These people are nothing. Tomorrow, these people talking, interacting with me can all die, and I will not change. Nothing will change with what's happening to me. They'll come back with new people. Like nothing changed. And back to this manipulation and torment and torture. You might even get worse. You might even get like there's nobody here that's doing something to me that is the reason why I'm destroyed. Meaning that they can remove everybody that I hear right now. The choice was made a long time ago. It's like, and I think to empower some of these perps that want to maintain character, they're like, oh, give you a choice. Pick a knife. Pick some random stuff like that. It's like, how do you want to kill the man who's already dead? Okay. Well, you see, that's your choice. That's the reality. And so I've accepted the reality of things. But the reason why I bring this thing is because they want to confuse you. Can you imagine that they want you to believe what's happening to you today as a grown adult man is because they are making your brain, the brain of somebody that age on the left, or even younger to the right. That you, in your 30s, getting closer to 40, has now a brain of the people you see in front of you. Now, obviously, when you hear that you know these people are trying to confuse you. There's something not making sense. Why would you want to have somebody brain to be a brain of a child? What's that? What's the purpose of that? Of course, it makes no sense. They just want to find a way to create logic. Sorry, I should use a different word because logic is now turned into something disturbing. And it's so disturbing. Rationality into something else. They want to change rationality. They want to create that rationality into things that they obviously manipulate you to experience. And the participant there, some of them are not really, I think at this point when you involve yourself, that although the technology is extremely sophisticated, they can tell me what I'm going to experience within whatever weeks or days or months, right? Which shows the sophistication of this program and of the program and the weapons and the technology. But the technology is so advanced that the people that can contract can be children-minded, can actually be children. Matter of fact, I think the people involved in this program really have to minimize their intellect because the brain, their brain is no longer in need. This technology will do it. We just need you to do your thing. And matter of fact, you don't have to dumb yourself, dumb out. The only time they try to show the intellect, the only time the intellect is needed is when they try to show credibility. To me, let's just say I'm working, right? I'm working with them. So to make this gaslighting more potent, they show how intellect they are. So you can look at them and say, oh, these people are rational individual or analytical individual. So this manipulation, these things should make sense. It's a bunch of mind games to make you accept the manipulations of what you're experiencing today. And there's a lot of that manipulation. So the reason why I bring that up is because today, what they make me experience, as I'm saying that they do whatever they can to bypass and torment me. Today, what they do, every time, and today it happened multiple times. It was so nasty, but that's what's gonna happen every time, and that's why if you go to my channel, you see at this point close to 1,300 videos of the same things, and it's like this. They made me see this. Well, I see this regardless if they made me or not, and then they made me experience this reaction over and over and over. And what is this disgusting thing is? What they make me experience is toward children. Yes, kids. They makes me see children in these disturbing pedophilia ways. It's so nasty. Right now, they try to find ways to disorient me by saying, oh, what's the thing that you're talking about? As you can see, they make noise campaign. And say, oh, you think children are things? It's just delusional. They try to find ways to disorient you by any means because the things they make me experience are toward children. They have these tactics that you're going to hear, which is consistent, that are pedophilia-centric. And when they make you experience these pedophilia-centric experiences, they're like, oh no, they abuse. Because what they try to do is they try to make you think of the stupid thing you did at the age of this child. But you're going to hear what's happening here and what kind of test subjects they use. It's not only men, it's not only women, but it's also children. So you have people involved in a program that abuses children using defense technology, then try to make you accept these manipulations, these reactions you have toward children, and try to make you accept that you're experiencing that because they're making your brain being a child. Now, obviously, you see why they have to turn down logic or rationality, because every time I say logic, they're going to counter that. Rationality. You're going to hear the horrible things they do to kids. And I want you to hear all of them. And then you're going to see what kind of trash they do to, what kind of manipulations they do to people. And this stupid, you know how they try to confuse me here. Not even confuse that. You say, you call the kind of what they do to things and so you think kids are things. No, I think kids are precious beings, and I know that you are torturing those precious beings in terrible ways. And on top of that, you force men and women to experience. You force men and women to experience disgusting reaction toward these precious beings. These bottom feeders are disgusting. But let's start from the beginning. Those reactions I'm talking about have been spoken about by others. And there's going to be a clear consistency of what they say. Before I get to the to how they abuse children and torture them, let's get to the way they manipulate men and women and have these nasty reactions toward children. So, like I said, how they make men and women react to children. Okay, they do these things that one target individual have called it the pedophilia type of torture. Now, why do they do this thing? Before we get to the specific testimony, listen to this man on saying why they do this thing where they break down the ego of a target individual. Why they do this where they disturb somebody in this way. What's the purpose? Why would they do that? Well, it seems that that's a needed part to break down somebody so they can reconstruct them in different ways. And this is why they use these tactics that you're going to hear coming over and over, brought up over and over and over. Listen to this man whose name is Robert Duncan talking about these breakdown tactics.
This is part of the reason of the breakdown, the torture that TIs are experiencing, is they have to break down the ego in order to be part of a greater mind or mind controlled.
So there's plenty of breakdown tactics. For me, I bring that up the most because it's the most tormenting to me psychologically. Right? They do other things, to try to find whatever ways to create these different thoughts, but there's nothing that is close to what they do to me when it comes to the pedophilia type of torture. Nothing. This is, to me, the most tormenting portion. It's just disgusting. And then every time they make me experience this, they're like, no, what we're doing, we're making you experience the thoughts, the experiences that you were experiencing when you were around that age, or even younger, 8 years old, 9 years old, and then try to make me think, no, that's how you remember when you're 9, you felt that feeling, remember? Just things are just nonsensical because not only they're falsifying my memories, but even this rationality makes no sense. What? It's comical, and when I laugh, it's funny. It's part of the gaslighting. So, they're gonna laugh, and then they tell me how they're gonna do these things to me, which I bring that up too. But before I get to that point, listen to the testimonies of others who said that these tactics that are specific to like pedophilia-centric tactics that disturbs me, and it's part of the breaking down, or it's something that I'm experiencing since this has happened to me, and I myself consider myself a target individual because I'm getting these disgusting things happen to me. Now listen to this woman, right? I will always use her testimony. She has the best testimonies because it's very well detailed. She goes through all different things she goes through, and there's a lot of the things that she goes through that I go through. She get even other torture that I haven't experienced, but there's a lot of other torture that we'll talk about. But when it comes to the psychological torture, a lot of things are similar. Now, on top of that, she has family members and things like that, so they do other things. But there's a lot of common torture that are super specific. I mean, I'm talking about super specific. That I haven't heard even other target individuals say that. But she said it. I was like, oh my gosh, I literally had the exact same. It's extremely sophisticated. As soon as I heard it, it's like, okay, this person is literally going through what I'm going through. It's just extremely similar. That it's just that one, when I heard her say that, and I haven't heard anybody say that, I was like, wow, yep. But what I'm going to bring up here is what is important is the psychological tormenting that consists of pedophilia-centric tactics. She's going to utilize these two words that ever since I've been using the same words. Pedophilia type of torture. She said pedophilia type of torture. This is not somebody who I know. I have no connection to this person. She probably have the most viewed testimony as a target individual. So this is not somebody, I have no idea. I don't know who she is. And she says the exact same thing. Listen to this.
Referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation, so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos in my...
Now, she says something that other target individuals have said. I haven't experienced that much, but they told me they can do that. There's a time when they were saying, oh, they can control my sense of smell. I remember, and I haven't experienced that. Oh, I don't know if I experienced that. Maybe sometimes I smell food, but there's no food around me. Maybe it's like, I don't know if it's just maybe the neighbors smell. I can smell their food in my apartment, but sometimes it comes out of nowhere. So I'm not 100% sure if they play with my sense of smell. I think sometimes I think they do, but I'm not sure. So when I'm not sure, I'm not gonna say I experienced it. Sometimes they want me to smell their food, right? But sometimes this food that comes all the way to my apartment, and it rarely happens, but sometimes they do that. Now, one thing she called out, and this is why I bring up, and by the way, they've told me they're going to play with my sense of smell, right? In my sense of taste and things like that. So I expect that this is going to happen if it hasn't happened at some point. So I expect some more things happening to me in regard to some manipulations. Sometimes they're hesitant. Sometimes they do things a few times, but it's not multiple times. But what they do continuously, systematically, the things that disturb me the most is what you heard her say, the pedophilia type of torture. The pedophilia type of torture is something that they've been continuously doing to me. When she said those words, pedophilia type of torture, this is now how I address what they do to me. When they make me have this stimulation, matter of fact, 2 seconds ago, I opened a box. And on the box, there's like family, I'm sure there's somebody who looks like a kid. They stimulated me immediately. So this is the pedophilia type of torture because there's a child. And so ever since I've been using that word, and it's nasty. But when I experienced this, it's like, no, you know what? We mapped it. We made you experience what you experience at that age. You see that? Matter of fact, right now they're going to something else, but I don't even want to get to that point until I get to something they do a lot now to disrupt who I am, to try to change the notion of self. They've been going to my memories and changing my memories, even creating these versions of narratives or whatever storylines, but creating my reactions on my memories, which we'll get to. And so you heard this woman say the pedophilia type of torture, and it's like, okay, the first time I remember hearing that, I remember getting up from my chair and walking around. I was like, oh my goodness, this is really a thing they do. I thought they were just doing this to me to mess with me. I find it came in steps. First, I thought I didn't know there was others like me, and I don't know that it's stupid of me to think that this whole thing could be just all about me, when it's not, or this is like others will go through the same thing. I thought it was just me. I didn't know that this could be that bad. Matter of fact, it kind of scared me to see who else they do that to. It was like it was relieving. Like I felt good, but at the same time I was like, oh my gosh, but they do that to them. That was like it made me feel like nervous, kind of, because I was like, oh no, they do that to them, to women and to children. Jeez, oh my gosh, I didn't even want to accept that they will be this disturbing, that it'll be so bad that they would do that to, like, my brain didn't even want to accept how disturbing these people are, how foul and horrible these people were. that I didn't even want to think that they are capable of doing that to people that innocent. I was like, I'd rather that happen to only me. But to know that they do this thing to people that innocent, it's just, I couldn't accept this. Like, these people, they look so normal. You tell me that they're involved in things that do this to children and women, and some of them were saying, no, we done that to others. I didn't even want to believe, because like they look so like normal, everyday people. Some of them look young adults. Some of them, like, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. No. There was, I remember this young people, like maybe in the 20s, like, no, we've done that to others. Like, what? You guys are too young to be doing. I couldn't believe it. It's like, no, what? You're basically kids. It's like, no, we've done it to others. This is some 20-year-old saying that. I was like, this is incredible. That's crazy. So when I realized, oh my gosh, this guy was just saying that, but he was actually saying that he's been doing this for however young he was. I wonder when was the first time he involved himself in this, and who he did it to. But now I understand why so many people, including actual children, are involved. Because there's actually kids involved in this. It's actually children involved in it. It's like, okay, they've been doing this since their childhood. They've been involved in this horrible things since they were kids. They're really groomed into this life. And I won't be surprised that this super young individual, even these kids, have participated in the torture of children, of women at their age. But what disturbs me is I then found out that not only they do that to people that are women, that are children, but they use these tactics that are pedophilia centric. That this is not just a one person or two person or something unique to anybody, but they truly are using this pedophilia type of tormenting to break down a target individual. Listen to this, the same men here, right? After surveying, after talking to 1,000 target individual, 1,000 target individual, as I'm saying that they try to counter that, 1,000 target individual, he came up with a list of different symptoms and torture that is utilized onto target individual. Guess what comes up? Listen to, I believe this is number 6 in that list.
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds. And vice versa.
Almost all target individual that this man interviewed, talked to, almost all of them said that they're implanting or they're making them see child porn in their mind. In their mind. It is disturbing. It is disturbing to hear this. When I heard that, I was like, oh my, what? This is not only this woman, but according to this survey, almost all. I was like, when I started hearing this thing about pedophilia, I was like, oh my gosh, there is a thing with pedophilia type of torture. It kept coming back that now I was like, let me look. Is there going to be some pedophilia things? And a lot of times there was some pedophilia type of torments utilized. I remember when I discovered the word targeted individual, the things that came up, the testimonies that came up. Matter of fact, listen to this testimony. This is one, I think it's one of the first testimony I ever heard. And this is coming from this target individual who's no longer with us. I remember there was this website called Target Individual, something target individual related. And there's multiple testimonies. And this person was interesting because this is a transgender individual, woman, who's a target individual. That's an old testimony of her. I think this is like 2011 or something like that, or 2012. And I discovered this in 2020. And this is what she said.
It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. It's disgusting, disgusting, disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know.
This was shocking because the description got too scary. What? People taking over her mind, making her have thoughts, try to change who she is. What? I was writing letters before finding out being a target. I was writing letters to like media outlets. I sent letters to The Guardian, the New York Times, Vice. What else? A list of like different media outlets. In these letters, I was like, listen, I thought it was only happening to me. I was like, listen, this thing is happening. My mind has changed since that day. I've been hearing people interacting with me, and I'm saying that what I'm saying, and I know it sounds crazy, but what I'm saying is since that date, not only my brain has been accessed, but they also can manipulate my brain, and I haven't been experiencing me. I haven't been myself ever since that day. And people should know that this technology is existing and there are foul human beings utilizing this technology in these disgusting ways. I had no idea that the target individual existed. I had no idea. No clue. Zero idea. I had no idea this people who were saying the exact same thing. Matter of fact, I didn't even know. I have no idea that The Guardian and all these different new media outlets wrote articles about target individual. Because I didn't know the terminology target individual. So when I hear these testimonies that exactly like mine, matter of fact, go to my first videos. You hear after hearing testimonies, that's when I became inspired to make videos. I was like, I need to say the same thing because I rather, in that letter, it's like I rather before I die, I'll do my best to tell the story of what's happening to me, because this is what the world needs to hear. That I didn't know that this was already well aware. So I was like, I'm gonna make videos because let me contribute to this. I don't care if nothing happens, but I did my part. So when the time comes, I've said what I need to say. At least I did whatever I could. But it became also a way for me to let myself to speak out what's happening, because isolation, being by yourself, you have nobody to speak to. And so it became a way to kind of help me speak up about what's happening and release some of the things that is being forced onto me, and me saying that out loud as they try to counter that. But you heard her testimony. People around her, not sure, she's acknowledging there's people around her. They're not sure if they're doing these weapons or whatever, but they're taking her mind, or try they're getting into her mind and changing who she is and making her have these thoughts of pedophilia centric. And she goes on and talks about, this and that she doesn't deserve, she didn't do this and that. They try to be like, oh no, but you deserve because you did this and that. Like, shut up. I'm talking to people who first of all manipulate everybody manipulate things in these disgusting ways, and manipulate people in these pedophilia ways, and on top of that are the one doing this and that. And it's not going to come from bottom feeders that do these horrible things to children and women who try to exaggerate what I did as a child around that age, or to try to bring out anything else while they are here doing some horrible things that you're going to hear toward women and even children. You're going to hear what they do. But the reason why they're trying to distract me, because this person say literally what I'm saying today. That I'm being forced to have thoughts that I will not have naturally. That I will forced to get a reaction. I will not. That something's happened. Somebody's trying to change me. And they start talking about this V2K. Well, voice to skull. What's voice to skull? And I start realizing, voice to skull is this thing where they have this technology that can interact with your brain, Like these individuals can interact, or this machinery can interact with your brain. So you can hear these people interactions, and it goes directly to your brain. But it sounds like sometimes like they're very close to you, right? It sounds like it's just like over there. Sometimes it feels like it's just the next door neighbor. Sometimes, but the truth is, who knows how close these people interacting with me are. And there's a lot of games there. There's a lot of mind games to try to make you think that somebody's closer than they are, or further than they are. Sometimes they're close but sound like they're far. Sometimes they're far but they're close. So they do this back and forth, right? But this V2K, I heard this woman say this thing here. Listen.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just.
So you heard her description of V2K, which is similar to what I'm experiencing. They have this manipulation of thoughts, so they make you think in these disturbing ways. But not only the manipulation of thoughts, the perceptions they can be played with. They can make you perceive things in disgusting ways. To me, it's usually toward babies, toward little kids. They give me these sensations, but also these perceptions, and create this sexual stimulation at the same time. All together, combination of different manipulation that are very pedophilia-centric. They're really using all kind of technology onto me that is just manipulating more than one aspect of things. And it's all meant to create this nastiness, and for me to accept this nastiness. I know I'm being rewired in these ways. And it's a lot of sensory being manipulated for me to express these things. It's just disgusting. But this doesn't end just with me saying that. Let me continue. Because then you hear more testimonies of like pedophilia-centric. Now listen, let me continue with Mariana, her testimony, because something they've done early on, a lot more early on. I think that was like a conditioning tactic as they start training your brain to think about kids in this way earlier. They were bombarding me with all kind of disturbing non-stop thoughts, non-stop, to train my brain to traumatize my brain and to condition my brain to think children, sex, try to create this nasty combination, disgusting things. And so they do these things. And so these disturbing manipulations are also consisting of how they can modulate dreams. It is disturbing. This technology, when you sleep, when you're a target individual, while you're asleep, they can create freaking whole movies of dreams. It is disturbing, and I've noticed in my dreams, they create dreams to create this kind of conditioning. They make you have reactions and sensations to dreams. To kind of condition, it feels like the dreams that I'm experiencing is a way to also train my brain to think in a certain way. For me, the dreams usually are weird stories and then create some kind of stimulation that turns into pedophilia-centric thing. Especially early on. Early on, it was strictly pedophilia. It was every night I had three dreams, right? And they used to mess with me. It's like they would call it a symphony because apparently there's 3 parts in a symphony, right? And they were saying things like, "Oh, this is like a symphony." And within those 3 dreams, one of them usually was disturbingly pedophilia-centric. Disturbing sexual and most likely pedophilia-centric. Not always just pedophilia-centric, sometimes just sexual, but then will be some pedophilia-centric things coming up at some points, right? And they will do that every night within those 3 dreams. That was initially to condition my brain. And I remember these people like being funny and be like, "Oh, this is our symphony." So nasty. And they will do these dreams. This is the dream that I'm talking about. Listen to this.
Also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
This is the things I'm talking about. It's disgustingly pedophilia-centric. It is too nasty. It just disturbs you. It truly breaks you down. And there's nothing you can really do about it. But you wake up, initially I used to wake up in sweat, nervous, heart beating hard. Especially the first time I remember, I was nervous. Waking up was in hot sweats. And then now it's just like, okay, just this is a nasty thing. It's been 4 years now of this. So, I mean, yeah, it is 4 years now. It's going to be 5 years in August of just that. So you just like, it's just the same nastiness. And you're like, okay. And so you see that they conditioned you this ways, in this pedophilia ways, and try to rewire your brain, and then try to make you believe it. Actually, I said I said the word 4 years. Like, no, remember what you did as a kid. 4 years. Oh, please. And it's just them try to condition you to not only experience this thing, but then when you experience these things, like, no, we're mapping to you when you're a kid. So they're training your brain to go this way, and then they say, no, it's you when you're a kid. They make you experience this, and then they train your brain at the same time. Conditioning. And then you're like, no, don't you remember when you were around that age? Remember this, you remember what you did? It's you. And make me think of me as a kid and try to make me experience the same stimulations. Like, disgusting. Now, at this point, I have no memory of I have memory, but my memories are manipulated to experience this stimulation every time I looked at a child, a toddler, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, to make me think that that's how I experience things, to falsify reality, to make me believe this notion of self that, no, because when you were a kid, you remember what you did? That's where mapped is you, 4-year-old, remember? And then go into my memory, make me think of any 4-year-old I've seen, and make me have these stimulations that they make me experience today. It's a bunch of manipulations to confuse you and to make you believe this manipulation. But this manipulation they do to you is not unique to you. So you already validated that. I know me. I remember when I was able to look at kids at 80 age, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7, whatever, children, babies, and be okay. But some reason now I can't without getting some kind of reaction. And it's like, no, because now we mapped it. We mapped you to be a child. Delusional. And then, they try to create these battles in my brains. Like, try to think of a show where there's kids, and then remember you didn't get this stimulation, and then they will make me have this stimulation in my memory. So play with my memories to make me experience this nasty reaction they make me have today. Those are the reaction I experienced. Listen to this woman. Her name is Mara. She is a woman who has multiple kids, and they start doing this thing which she calls it the program of perversion. The program of perversion is this thing that actually I'll let her speak and listen to the testimony of what she experienced and what she reacted and how she was reacting to children.
And of my privacy that you have taken away from me and my family. Then said this: the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ass. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals.
So, you heard her testimony, starting off with some kind of reaction they made her feel toward dogs. And then, so disturbing. And then, this sensation, which she calls the program perversion, start to be aimed towards something else. This something else are people, young people, children, and homosexuals. The key word here is children and young people, actually. For me, it's been the same thing. Matter of fact, even told no homosexual, but guys, men. They forced me to get stimulation. I remember one of the worst one was I was in an interview and they make me have like thoughts about this man in disgusting sexual way. They give me stimulations, not disgusting, but making me imagine doing something to this man. At one point, they were forcing me to get like this weird sensation toward this like buff bodyguard that made me have this experience toward. I was like, I know it's falsified, but I was like, well, like how am I? Like if I was gay, I don't care. Being gay, it's not gonna make me break down. Like if I'm truly gay, there's nothing wrong with that. And so I don't care you forcing me to get stimulation toward men. It's not gonna. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's just a false stimulation. I'll sleep okay, right? It's not me. I'm not gay, but it's not something that's gonna break me down. But children is where things disturbs me. And as I'm saying that, I try to. It's just sad because when they do that toward children, is when things get. And this is where things get bad for me. Especially before August 19, 2019, I was watching a lot of content that would just make me feel wholesome. I was on this thing where I was making myself, I was celibate. And to stay celibate, I watched very wholesome content, things that would not make me think in any way sexual. And I remember watching a lot of like YouTube videos of father coming out of the army and seeing their children first time, like the feel good videos. And I remember feeling very emotional, and it was like this kind of content I used to watch. It was very wholesome, right? And it used to make me take me away from thinking about Jesus, and think about Jesus, it's so bad. Thinking about Jesus. They're doing things in my brain that is just so illogical. Thinking about just not thinking about anything sexual, right? And I will not watch anything that would make me think in a sexual way. So I'll just really keep my content very PG-13, right? And not try to watch anything that would make me think in a sexual way, because then I'll start thinking about non-celibate things, right? So I keep my content strictly PG-13 in order to stay PG-13, not even to maintain myself from being celibate in every ways. I mean, every ways. Especially toward myself. So I watch things that would just not make me have thoughts of that nature. They would make me keep things very non-celibate, very celibate, right? You can see the struggle of me speaking. They try to flip things around, and the thoughts they make me have right now is just, I'm becoming more and more illogical. And every time I speak like that, they're like, "Oh, you lose," because they are making my brain truly irrational and removing sense of rationality. So all of a sudden, after August 19, 2019, the things that I used to watch to maintain pure celibacy in regard of doing anything to myself, now it shifted to, now this thing, they forced me to have sexual stimulation. The contents that I used to watch, that used to make me, keep me away from thinking anything sexual, are now the things that they try to force me to have reactions sexual. And it's disturbing. So now I detest seeing children in every fashion, because they turn it into some nasty things. What's happening to my brain right now is I'm saying that they try to bring back, okay, when you're not celibate, were you still watching wholesome content? It's yes, but also watching non-wholesome content, which is why you go to the other way. And it's crazy right now. They're rewiring reality in so many ways, but that's what they do. They try to change reality in so many ways. It's just disturbing. Oh my gosh, the memories are being manipulated big time. But I'll get to the memory manipulations. And so you hear this woman saying that. You hear this woman saying they're forcing me to have sexual stimulation toward children. Now, this is why they do these things. It's to break you down. Like I said, they are really trying to manipulate you into accepting these things, because it's breaking you down means more control of the mind. This is what this Robin Dawkins says, and why they are thinking this is war, whatever. It's because we are test subjects. We are human test subject for the future in regard of what they're capable of doing cognitively. Unfortunately, on us is a weapon. They're using cognitive warfare onto us. Listen to this.
Be my guess that this person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
cognitive warfare.
Exactly, it's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds,
personalities.
And it's like Chinese torture. I mean, this. Yeah.
So altering the mind, reconstructure the personality, is what they're doing. It is disgusting. And some of the way of reconstructing personality is manipulate the memories. Memory manipulation has been big. I mean, it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And I feel like they stop even trying to be smooth now. What I mean by that, for example, right now, this is a new manipulation of my memories. It's so disturbing. Because I said that I was celibate for 5 months because all I was watching is wholesome content. I watch things where there's children and feel good kind of like stories and YouTube videos, and a family meets each other again. There's a kid that was like learning how to walk again, things like that, right? Very wholesome, that would make me very emotional. So what they're doing right now, and this is the manipulation of memories, and it's meant to kind of torment me, is what they do is they make me think, before me being celibate, I was still watching wholesome things, right? I was watching content where there's children and things like that, and it was wholesome. But also, I was watching things that weren't wholesome. This is why I was not able to be celibate. So what they're doing is like, but remember you watched this wholesome show, but you also weren't celibate, and you were also doing things to yourself. And they try to make it seem like right after I watched these wholesome things, that's when I was do things to myself. I don't want to be, and create these stories like that. It's like, you see, you weren't celibate, you were doing things to yourself when you were watching wholesome. No, not at the same time I was watching wholesome stuff, but you were watching things where there's kids and things like that. But at some point, you would do something to yourself. At some point later on, maybe the next day, maybe the hours later, or maybe after watching something else. You see, how you were not being celibate during the time you were watching wholesome stuff. I was like, what? And this is how stupid it got. It's like, you see, and they try to say, no, you know what, and then they try to create this story. No, you're watching these wholesome things at the time where the reason why you're not celibate. It's the storylines they create is crazy. It's crazy. And truly want to box in this retardation of thoughts. Because they do these memory manipulations and create these imaginations that are falsified. This is not unique to me. It's not unique to me. It's what they've done to others. And right now with my brain, it's getting worse and worse. That even this nonsensicalness is crazy. It's like saying that, you have sex, so you don't watch anything with children because how can you have sex when you watch things where there's like wholesome stories or wholesome videos? How it makes no sense. And as I'm saying that, I truly want to make sense of that. It's like me saying, okay, you see this person over there, and this is, please understand how stupid they want me to be. See that person over there? Oh, yesterday you watched this video, there was a child. At night, you were with this woman, you did this at night. You see how you are, you see? That's that stupidity. It makes no sense. In my brain, they try to fuse things together, because what they're going to try to create in my mind is a memory where I'm watching these wholesome things, and then I'm not even watching, then I do something to myself. Do you understand how disgusting it is? When the reality is, when I was watching wholesome things, my mind was away from anything sexual. But if I watch anything where there's somebody sexual and a woman doing something, then my mind turned into something sexual, which triggered me to want to do something to myself. And so for me to be celibate, what I had to do is remove anything that will make my thoughts think sexual. So I remove any content that will make me think in a sexual way. So all I was left watching is wholesome videos of children or PG-13 like type of content, because that will keep me away from thinking about anything sexual. And if I did watch something where there's like a fitness model in there, that will start kind of slowly bring me back to thinking in a sexual way. So I will have to like be careful in regard of anything that is sexual, because that would be the thing that trigger me to think in a sexual way and make me not be celibate. And so to stop that, I had to focus only on the things that are very wholesome things. And that's why I was able to be celibate for 5 months. Now you see how stupid this thing sound, right? In my brain, they were trying to make sense of that. Now listen, memory manipulation is something they've done to other. Listen to this, man. Okay, this torture, these things, these manipulations is done globally because, like I said, there's a purpose behind this. They want to able to manipulate all kind of brain from all around the world. So this is global. Listen to this man saying that they pick people from all around the world for this purpose.
The government, but you want a random sample of the population in all languages, all cultures, in order for a worldwide weapon of an AI system that can interact with every human brain. For example, when you develop a new drug, well, you have a control group, and then you give the placebo, and then you have the actual drug experiment in order to do a double-blind study. Right. So why me? I'm nobody. Well, that's exactly probably why they chose you.
So they need samples from all around the world, and they apply these breakdown tactics. And some of the breakdown tactics consist of manipulating memories. Listen to this man from Lithuania. He goes through into what is happening to him, inclusive of the memories manipulation to break him down. Listen to him.
Able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts, and images in imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain, they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example, artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
So this is what she's talking about, mental torture. You just heard the manipulation of memories and how they're creating the stories in my brain. It's to try to break you down and to rebuild you in this fashion. It's crazy. It's disgusting. But that's what they do. And this has caused people to lose their mind, inclusive of mass shootings. And of course, it goes back into this pedophilia type of torture, which you heard how they change your brain to manipulate your memories to get you to accept these manipulations. Literally creating a narrative that makes no sense via manipulation of your memories to get you to accept this manipulation that you're experiencing today. Listen to this pedophilia type of torture being applied onto somebody who ended up killing 18 people. Listen to this.
In Me last week, from New York Times, I'm Michael Barbaro. This is The Daily. Today, the mass shooting that occurred in Me last week, killing 18 people, was the country's deadliest of the year. It may also have been one of the most avoidable.
Army reservist, and the documents show that these warnings can rising paranoia. But as we now know, none of those warnings prevented this mass shooting.
Well, Nick, where should we start in the story of those warnings? You mentioned that they go back many months.
I mean, the first time when the local police are really made aware that this guy is a concern is about 5 months ago in May, when his ex-wife and teenage son go to a school resource officer, and the school resource officer calls down a sheriff's deputy to speak with the family. And in that interview, the teenage son and the ex-wife say that he has started to hear voices. He started to be increasingly paranoid and angry. They also to leave it in the Army Reserve's hands.
So the police come up with a kind of informal solution to this problem, which is work with the Army Reserves.
I think that's right.
Okay, so what happens next?
So the next thing we know that happens is in July. Card travels with his reserve unit to West Point, New York for an annual training exercise. And there's a very concerning incident that takes place. They're all hanging out together at a motel, and he starts accusing them of calling him a pedophile. This is one of his paranoid delusions that comes up repeatedly. He shoves one at one point, and everyone is just freaked.
So you hear these repetitive tactics of breaking people down. For me, it's consistent. And now it becomes worse and worse with memory manipulation, which is so crazy. It's pathetic. You heard like the way they were manipulating my memories in something that makes no sense. Literally saying, no, but remember when you were not celibate? Because right before I moved to this place here in New York, I was not celibate, of course. I became celibate when I came to New York, and I did 5 months of celibacy based on only watching, well, thankfully, mostly watching very wholesome content. And so they're like, but remember, you watched this wholesome content before, and you were not celibate. And when I mean celibate, is really with myself. It's like, yes, I was not celibate because I was watching things that were not wholesome. I will watch things that will make me think in a sexual way. And this is why I was not celibate. I will watch women that would make me think in a sexual way. I will watch things that will make me think in a sexual way. And I will watch wholesome things that will not make me think in a sexual way. And so for that time being, I was not thinking anything sexual. Do you understand how, like, in my brain, they were trying to rewire things like, no, but you watch this. And then what they're trying to change now is immediately make me think of watching this, like, I remember this, like, funny show of, like, these kids interviewing stars. It was very wholesome. I used to watch that all the time. Watched it, loved it. Now they're trying to rewire this memory, change it with me having sexual reaction or stimulation that make me have today, and be like, no, but after that, you start not being celibate. Trash. And then like, no, okay, maybe not immediately, but maybe 3 hours later, you start watching something that was not wholesome, and then you did something stupidity. Try to like give me hours. How long after? Maybe after that you watch this something else, and then you watch. Stupid. It's truly crazy. But they have been playing with memories for a while, and I've been talking about how they play with my memories to create these weird stories and narration that makes no sense. Listen to me making a video in 2020, my first video about memory manipulation. Now you can hear a bunch of memories. You can hear a bunch of memory manipulation that they've done to me. But in 2020, October 2020, I make this video, right?
And sensations I added to it. It's just so weird to even try to explain something like that, because it does feel so, so abnormal. But adding sensations, feelings, perceptions of things you weren't feeling, just to also create this narrative in this. And sensations I added to it. It's just so weird to even try to explain something like that, because it does feel so, so abnormal. But adding sensations, feelings, perceptions of things you weren't feeling, just to also create this narrative in this. And
so, for example, this newly manipulate memory, where they make me imagine watching this one of my very good show that I used to watch, where there's these two kids asking questions to like rappers, and now trying to create memories of me getting sensation. Now, because they start building, the way they create these false memories, it comes in steps, right? Right now, what they're trying to do, okay, this is just too much. What they're going to do is like, oh, but maybe later on, an hour or two ago, you start watching something that is not wholesome, and you start thinking about something sexual. You see, it's an hour or two ago. Because what's happening today is just so disgusting. What they do is like anytime I'm in a moment of sexual state, they make me think of children. And sometimes what they do today is so disgusting. When I watch something, or if there's a child comes up, they make me think of doing something sexual. They make me think of watching adult content. And try to create this like mixing things together. Well, before, when I was me, when I was able to be myself, I could watch 2 hours ago, watch something with maybe whatever, wholesome content, but my thought of that passed. Now I'm focusing on whatever I'm watching today, right now. Just like anybody else. Today, these things don't happen. Everything is merged together when it comes to children and sex. They try to mix things together. So 2 hours ago, I was maybe watching a wholesome thing. But an hour later, I'm on Instagram, I see like this fitness model. And I'm whatever I was watching before is gone. I'm not even thinking about it. Oh, that moment is gone. But while I'm watching this content with children, there's nothing sexual that comes in my head. But in fact, it takes me somewhere wholesome. That's when I know it's like if I keep watching this instead of that, this is going to keep me celibate. This is going to drive me immediately to think about sexual things. And this is how I was able to think celibate. I was able to be celibate for 5 months. Now, obviously, they're changing things. Now, I know to anybody who's listening to that, it sounds very obvious, right? And because I'm talking in a state that I'm no longer living in a real world. My brain has been connected to this synthetic reality that is manipulated. Listen to Robin Duncan in this podcast, right? Saying why things have changed and how disturbing it is now because this technology has the ability to do so much. Listen to this.
Knowledge. If you have knowledge ahead of time, Len, would you have gone through as much pain? I mean, you would have been able better to cope early on. Right. So we're trying to spread awareness and knowledge of that it's a machine and not your actual family, let's say, berating you. And mind control is so powerful in these weapons and voice to God. I mean, you have no ability to discern, like looking at a computer screen, a television, what goes into your mind. It is directly stimulating those neurons to think that. So, I mean, is bypassing your peripheral vision. Some people can see through their third eye, and that's called in psychology the visual workspace. Some people can smell artificial things, taste artificial things. All the senses have been bypassed, like in the movie The Matrix. They're literally plugged in to a synthetic controlled reality that they cannot differentiate from their external bodily senses.
So this is why something becomes so illogical. You heard what I just said. You see how they were trying to create this narration of thoughts in my head? They have the ability to create a synthetic false reality that makes no sense. But you being yourself, you're like, what? What doesn't make sense? And you have people around you, making noise campaign, trying to box in this falsified reality, this synthetic reality they've put together that makes zero sense. And these people who are called perps, who sometimes are children, sometimes and you obviously, when it comes to very logical things like what I just said, they send the more childlike individual, the most childlike individual who says the random things. Right now, some childlike individuals say, we had sex, me and you had sex, because they tell me how they're going to frame me. They're going to have this childlike individual say that I had sex with this child. Right? And she says that now because she wants to box in this disturbing thought. But also, they are planning on doing things in regard to framing. So you understand how nasty these people are. But before I get to that point, this is the things they do. And like I said, the reason why they do these things is because they try to create this false personality. This disgusting personality that is pedophilia-centric. They want you to identify with this manipulation to the point of manipulating memories like that in these ways. That makes no sense with this retardation of narrations. To try to make you accept these things. To this stupidity. And I know if you're not being a target individual with synthetic therapy or V2K, it's hard to comprehend. How would you even think in this retarded way, in this stupidity ways? I'm sorry for the language, but how can you even, this thought can come in, like, how can you even think this way? Why? It's because our brain are being manipulated to think in these illogical ways. They remove rationality, and they have people around us contracted to make you think that this makes sense, right? So they make the noise campaign. They try to make aggressive noises because they want you to box in these retardations of thoughts. But the reality is this. You remember when I said the memory manipulation, how they manipulate memories to create this false persona? It's because of this.
Be my guess that this person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in the 50s, in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
cognitive warfare.
Exactly, it's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds,
personalities,
and it's like Chinese torture. I mean, okay,
so I hope you heard the noise campaign was listening to this. This is the neighbors. They're supposed to get you to accept this nonsensicalness of thoughts, right? They're contracted to keep the target individual in this synthetic reality that's so falsified that this thing's supposed to make sense, right? It's part of these mind games. Because, the part of this altering the mind, they need people around you to make you believe these things make sense, right? So they have to dumb themselves down. They have to truly become mentally non-logical to act accordingly, so you can be like, oh my gosh, this makes a lot of sense. Oh my gosh, I wasn't wholesome before. I wasn't wholesome, sorry. They manipulate my words. It's called forced speech, which you're going to hear. I wasn't celibate before, and I was watching wholesome stuff. Oh my gosh, you see? That means this is how stupid they want me to be. And make me imagine these thoughts in this retarded way. And I'm sorry to use this word. I need to stop using that word. But sometimes when you're angry, you just want to use the word that kind of gets to the point. To think in a nonsensical way. It's crazy. Now listen to this. Listen to these mind games they play, right? You heard how the noise campaign. Then they make me think. Oh, but listen, you're not celibate before those 5 months, and you're watching wholesome stuff. So why were you not? Also, those wholesome stuff you're watching were the reason why you like the mind games that they play is just nonsensical, and they manipulate the memories playing these mind games. And the neighbors involve themselves trying to box in these things. This is part of what this man says here.
Ultimately controlling the enemy. The book, The Art of War, is an excellent short read. And it's to make your enemy believe you are near when you are far. It's to believe you are weak when you are strong. It's to believe you are, unorganized when you're very smart and strategic. And so they play all these games along with the torture scripts, right out of the books. On the target, and they make them believe that their neighbor with a ray gun is doing it to them, or a van. You are near when you're actually far, and all they have to do is jump on it.
So this is the mind games they play, the confusions and disorientation. You hear neighbors making noise campaign. You hear this person say out of nowhere, like that sound like a child, like, we had sex. See, some kid saying that. To disorient you, to box in this nonsensicalness of thoughts. It's part of these manipulations. It's disgusting, but that's what they do. And it's just foulness. It's foulness and disturbing. But you gotta be strong. With me, they do this. Obviously, this memory that manipulation is just level of just disturbing. But when they want to be rational, when they be okay, this is just too stupid. But when we be rational, we map you to you when you're a kid. This is when they're like, when is this they're serious, when it's not too stupid to the point where this is not too nonsensical for them, right? When we okay, this thing about you were not celibate before, but you're watching wholesome thing, so like that stupidity to them, like this is okay. That's where we're pushing it to nonsensical. But you pay for what you did when you were a kid at that age. You pay for that. Now, these people, obviously, if they're capable to create this nonsensicalness of ways of thinking, they're able to counter reality. That these people involved in torturing children. So you hear people involved in doing horrible things to children, or involved in a program that does horrible things to children. Talk about you paying at the age of this kid the stupid thing they have to exaggerate, which they say in truth is they mapped it. That in truth is when they want to be serious, when it's logical, when it's rational to them, which is still not logical. This is still nonsensical. That we are making you think the way you thought when you were a kid. This is us when we're mapping to you as a kid. This is when they are the most sensical. That's when they're being super sensical, right? 2 seconds ago, you heard the memory manipulation and you play this retardation of things, which is just stupidity. They just really push you to insanity and retardation, which somebody said that before, and I'm sorry for using that word, but that's what literally was said. This man said, this technology is pushing me to insanity and retardation, mental retardation. Because the logic they utilize is truly on that spectrum. So you can identify with these manipulations. And as I'm saying that, the disorientation, the mind game, you hear the noise campaign, you hear the child like trash talking. Not really. It's the typical things. But the reality is so disturbing. It's so disturbing. Before I go with the reality of who they harm and what they've done to the most vulnerable people, we talk about children. Before I get there, I said how my speech is being manipulated. How hard it is for me to speak. Listen to this man saying this.
Through your own motor cortex, the actions of verbiage. It's a weird sensation. I know it's going to be difficult for you to describe, but it's quite common amongst TIs in a certain portion of the program. The programs can last from 3 months to years, like in your case, many years. Yeah. So you just haven't been taken out of the program yet. They're still.
So this is something that the whole forced speech. I can't find a patent on it. I don't know. I've never really heard.
There will not be a patent on this.
There won't be a patent on this. But I mean, it's one of those things where I have to deal with the repercussions when I'm being forced to say.
So you hear this. You hear how they can manipulate the speech, right? Now let's go back to who they've done it to, right? I want to go, before I go to what they do to children, I think it's important for me to bring up what they do to women. Because women are the reason why I know so much about what's happening to me in regard of how they have a system of doing things. What this is really about, because there's been a lot of testimonies of TIs by a lot of women in the TI specifically. I'm not saying that there's more women than men. I'm not sure of that. I don't know that. But there's more testimonies coming from women than men. That I can say. And so, listen to first of all, the breakdown is the same. You heard when they were talking about the pedophilia type of torture, they were coming from testimonies of women, right? You heard a woman say the name pedophilia type of torture. She literally called it that. So you know that's where they're attacking. They not attacking, but they're utilizing test subject that are women. One thing they like to do to women as breakdown men, not only women, they've done that to me too. They've done things remotely sexual, like they've done things to my rectum. They've done things to my genitals, and I know I should feel like that's the reality of things. But they do that to women, and they do that often to women, right? They violate them in ways that is somewhat using the sophisticated technology, but sometimes not the sophisticated technology. So listen to this common tactic they use to torture women, right? This is the same men who I've talked to a lot of target individuals, 2,000 or so, and I have asked the same question: what you experience, what you know. And one of the common things that women, target individual women who goes through this, what they've been saying, this is some of that.
Already being used. I mean, if you talk to the victims, the TIs, one of the worst breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can say the word simulated rape. And forced orgasm.
You can say anything you want. This is the internet.
Okay. And so simulated orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most.
So you hear these tactics that most women who are target individual, or at least what this most who complain from this torment are coming from women. Now, it doesn't mean that doesn't apply to men. I've experienced that in these ways where they do things to my organs remotely, and expanding things and other things that I know is happening to me. But this is what they do to women, right? If you want to hear testimony of how nasty they can get with women when they use the simulated rape, listen to this. I'm going to listen to two of them, and then listen.
My reactions and responses has been highly sexual in nature and highly perverted, involving many combinations of sensory and motor manipulation of my mind and body and of the people around me. This includes many different types of zaps to varying degrees to the genitals, butt, anus, and the entire pelvic area. This also includes many kinds of movements, such as the rocking, swaying, jolting, vibrating, and shaking of my entire body or various body parts, specifically in a sexual way. The severe vibration is a highly noxious stimuli and is very intolerable. They sometimes do pulses or throbbing sensations on the genitals too, etc. There are also body movements such as rocking my pelvic area back and forth, repeated rubbing sensations, the sensation of something going up my crotch and in and out, etc. They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, every day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly.
So, this is this woman who talks about the pedophilia type of torture, going through her breakdown when it comes to those sexual torture. She's not the only one, but in fact, this one woman who in 2015 said she's been going through for a long time, going through this for I'm not sure how many years, but longer than me, at least in this fashion, right? And it's funny, if with me, they're like, no, for you, it's gonna be life. There's a lot of women who've been going through that for a long time. They've been enduring this horribleness for a long time, and I don't even know how they're still alive, because I don't know if I could even want to be free after decades of that. I think I would be like, I'm too destroyed to be returned back to a normal person. They've been conditioning my brain. They've been training my brain. They've been manipulating my memories. They've been manipulating my thoughts. They've been erasing my memories. How can I even psychologically, just be, even physically, it's just be too much for me to even want to come out of this thing at this point, right? Especially when we talk about the years these women have been on. But listen to this woman talking about her torture and how she's been destroyed.
I have actual photographs of burns on my body. When I went to my doctor, the response was, how do I know you didn't do that to yourself? How do you even address that? I've passed 2 psychological evaluations, not 1 but 2. The one physician said, you're mentally sound as a bell. He said, I don't have any idea what's going on with you. When I go to sleep, when I go to try to sleep, I feel like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock of my rectum. I get electric shock of my nose. I've woken up with burns on the end of my tongue. I've had burns on the palms of both of my hands. I vibrate. I can barely hold a piece of paper without quivering. Does that answer your question?
I'm trying to find what's the source of the...
The source are these exotic weapons. They talk about in 2976 that if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women.
Most of us are defenseless women, and asking the Department of Defense, that most of us are defenseless women. But the truth is, the Department of Defense is not doing this because they're women, right? This is not because they think they're terrorists, but it's because they are using women and men and children to be test subjects. In order to improve a technology that's already sophisticated, and they need men, they need women, and they need children of all races and all culture and all ages to continuously improve and refine this technology. That is why they're torturing women. This is why they're torturing men. This is why they're torturing children. Listen to this woman talking about her and her young child going through this. Now, these people doing these things to me, right, obviously are the same people. They know that these things they do is destructive because they're involved in that. Some of them doing these things to me have done that to women. And some have also done that to children. I know there's people with a lot more expertise than others. And I know they start very young doing these things to people. So I can only imagine how many more people they're going to do this to. They already trained themselves, groomed themselves, and been groomed by others to normalize these things, right? That's why they keep coming up with things like, no, we are at war, this and that, when it's so disgusting. Because, this technology is a technology that is going to most likely be utilized during war at some point, or maybe in a negative way, maybe not war. In a negative way for purpose that is more specific than just testing, or not even testing, but improving in technology, right? That's why right now they're using us nobodies, right? Nobodies to use us in this way. We are truly, and I'm not trying to minimize who I am, but just like this man said, like this here, as you can hear here.
Population, it's the government, but you want a random sample of the population in all languages, all cultures, in order for a worldwide weapon of an AI system that can interact with every human brain. For example, when you develop a new drug, well, you have a control group, and then you give the placebo, and then you have the actual drug experiment in order to do a double-blind study. Right. So why me? I'm nobody. Well, that's exactly probably why they chose you.
Right, but...
So this is why it's happening to us. So this is why the Department of Defense is spending so much money and efforts and all, and why people are dumbing themselves down for this. This is for the purpose. As much as they try to present themselves, now we're doing for this person. This trash are involved in a program that is literally frying women all around the world. They are the threat to children. They are the threat to women. They have so much blood of the most vulnerable people you can imagine. It's just terrible. So why would they, for example, me, they try to talk about what I did as a kid at that age and try to exaggerate what I did as a child. You think this is really what they should not pay for what you did, like a kid at that age? Or sometimes what they bring is like, oh, we're doing it for this woman. You did wrong to this woman. You just heard what they do to women? I mean, I can bring so many more testimonies, which you're going to hear, of how they destroyed this woman's life. Destroyed them. Fried them. Some of them had killed themselves. They've been tortured so much, they killed themselves. They've been so psychologically tormented and tortured. They killed themselves. Men have lost their mind and caused mass shootings. They actually are causing crime. They would love for me to be aggressive and torture and kill somebody. So it's obvious that we're just test subject. The way the facade, the psyop they try to make up is BS. They're actually causing people to do things that they would never do, and in a negative way. Some of that consists of killing people, doing horrible things to people. Others consist of causing them to kill themselves. There's plenty of women who've killed themselves in this program because they wanted freedom. So you understand this is a purpose. You think the Department of Defense is going to dedicate this much amount effort for nothing? No, they're trying to continuously improve this technology. This is why they use random people. Me, I know who put me in this program, right? I was put in this program by my employer because these people were connected to these governmental entities. And to shut me off, they're like, here, take this guy. So, I say, okay, come in. Put him in a program where we also torture children and women. And that's that. And my employer, by the way, oh my gosh, is the reason why I have this psyop, right? They love to create this confusing reality. They have this confusing reality where they want you to think that it's anything but this massive government doing this to you. So for me, what I have, right, how they present themselves is like, no, we are this psyop. We're making you pay for what you've done, right? And this is what you just heard the testimony. Defenseless women being tortured, used by the government in as test subjects. And you're going to hear more testimonies. Tortured, destroyed. I mean, the things they do is beyond evil. Right, so you like imagine somebody who tells you we are here to protect women, but in working for a program where they are not only just killing women, but they are slowly killing them, destroying slowly not only them, the whole family, but not only that, with sexually torturing them, but not only them erasing their memories and manipulating their brain in these ways, but not only that, we want them to kill themselves. And like, no, we're here to pay for what you did to this woman that they don't care about, and would destroy her the same way they've destroyed so many other people. So you realize the reality of things. Okay, yes, you're just trying to use this so you can make it seem like it's this. You try to make it seem like you care about this person, when in reality you don't give a damn about her. You will destroy just this woman. Like, I was going downstairs, right, and they would try to be like, oh, when you were a kid you abused. They try to exaggerate it as a kid. This is really what they hold on to the most, because they, saying that is the worst thing that you can try to create. But they talk about me as a kid and they have to exaggerate what I did as a kid. Right, so they exaggerate what I did as a child and try to make it sound like it's something else. While they're in a program where you're going to hear what they do to children. You're going to hear what they do to children. But they're creating this psyop. Make them believe that there is something else, but we're not these governmental entities that do this thing to children. We're different. And the psyop is what you're going to hear here. They're going to try to trick you into believing something else. Right? They're going to try to make you believe this.
Couriers, people that will carry the V2K. So they'll say, we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis, that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this.
So they try to get you to think that this is anything but this massive government that do this. Because this massive government does these things. And as I was saying, that they're going through like manipulations of things they've done to me and try to make me accept this. You're no longer yourself. So they just make you experience whatever they want. But this is the things we're talking about. This is the manipulation they make you have here. Sorry, this is not a manipulation. This is who they torture. You see, the forced speech is going to be tough for me to speak, but I'll do my best to be as articulate as I can. This is the testimony of a woman and her young child. And this is what this government is doing to even children and obviously women.
Thanks.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MK Ultra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan. And please give us a congressional hearing. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a woman and her young child being used as test subject, right? This is what they try to counter from. This is what they're countering, what they try to change from. Meaning that they try to present themselves as they anything but this program that does these things to women and children. You know, as I was listening to this, right, there's this guy saying they're gonna pull my eye. It's like I would rather lose my eye than be involved in what you just heard. And in the meantime, they would try to manipulate bring up the manipulation of these things they've done to me. It's just try to bring up, making me think of some girl I used to be like had a crush on in high school. Try to make me think of this girl when they make me have this perception of this teenage trash shit. And I'm sorry for the language, but the manipulations in order to disorient me from what you hear, because they don't want you to see them for what they truly are. That they involve in a program that abuses children using defense technology. And they were like, no, you abuse, you're going to take the right eye for what you did. It's like, you are involved in a program that does horrible things to babies. You're trash. I will run to you because I don't want you to escape in that fantasy, because we know who tortures children. We know who abuses children. Listen to what they do to children. Listen. I mean, this woman has 4 pages that I wish I could have got to. And I guarantee you, and I have a strong feeling that sexual torture was applied onto her. Now, listen to this woman talk about the children she's teaching. The teacher that, the kid that she teaches. She's a teacher. She teaches kids with mental handicap, with special needs. These kids are very young kids from 3 to 7. Listen to that.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, ow, and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. And I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, ow. I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay. He looked puzzled and bewildered. Even though I had stated that it was time to do more work right before this incident, I quickly just let him play another game, and he quickly returned to his joyful, happy self again. In other sessions, he has also grabbed his crotch and said, ow, while looking up at me.
So you hear the horrible things they do to kids. A 3-year-old sexually tortured, a 4 and a 5-year-old, 2 girls that are sisters, 4 and 5-year-old, both of them have Down syndrome, being sexually tortured. Of course, they do other things than that. And the reason why they try to counter that with something else. But before I get to the counter, the 7-year-old that not only was sexually tortured, but they were suffocating this kid. The 7-year-old, she was gasping for air. Now, I know they can do that. They've done that to my lungs. So I know that this poor 7-year-old was trying to get air in her lungs, and they were restricting her lungs. This is what they do to children. Now, to counter what they were trying to do, because there's another part here where they burn these kids using this technology. I don't know. They can make them feel like burn sensations, right? And they did this to this kid. They make them feel some pain of some sort on their hands. And with me, what they try to do to counter that, you see me. Well, it's not me, but you see that kid eating this food over there. Around that age, I did something to myself which they try to exaggerate. When I'm listening to the 4-year-old and the 5-year-old that they tortured sexually, they try to make me think of what I did as a kid and try to exaggerate what I did as a kid. And make me think of the dumb thing I did to myself as a child in middle school. As you can see, a kid like that did this impulsive thing that never happened again, like I said. To myself, which they have to exaggerate. Sometimes, if you watch my videos, go see her hand. You use her hand. It's so disgusting. Even to the point it's just you wash your hand. The stories to try to create to exaggerate what I did as a kid, so disgusting. And then sometimes they like to try to make it seem like, oh, you're gonna pay for what you did as a kid. You see a kid like that doing some impulsive thing, they're like, no, this is poetic justice, you pay for that. You heard what they do to a 4-year-old and 5-year-old. You heard what they do to a 3-year-old. You heard of the mother and her young child being tortured. Now look at this kid to the left. Can you imagine? You are involved in a program that does these horrible things to kids, and you try to make somebody think, well, what you did as a kid. Look at this. You did. I'm not even done to show. This is not. It's just the beginning to show how disturbing these people are, and who's truly a threat to children. And so with me, it even gets to the point of, I kiss, I beso, because there's something as I was a kid. What I did, there's something that almost happened and I stopped when I was the age of that kid. And so they try to make me imagine that happening. And so they're like, oh no, she kissed. It was so disgusting. No, she didn't. But I stopped that from happening. But to them, they want to hold on to whatever they can. That they even try to use something that almost happened, which it was stopped because I stopped it. For some reason, at that moment, I have some clarity, some sense of like I started thinking in a more mature way, even though I was a kid, and stopped that. And that never happened again. Never happened again. None of it. Not because I was like, hey, you know what? I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, this can never happen again. No. It was just something that never came in my mind. Never, just say whatever. It's not something I was into. It's just something that happened. And that's why they never happened, and now that's why they create this false pattern. Because a kid at that age can do these stupid things like that. And they try to be like, oh, no, you pay for that. While you just hear what they do to children. And people who are involved in a program that harm children, that abuses children like that, want to exaggerate what a child did at that age and try to counter the reality of how abusive they are to children for the sole purpose of developing a technology. And so, I was in the elevator and somebody's like, abuse, and I was like, you torture children. And they were like, nada, like nothing. I was like, exactly. That's my point. You don't care that you're involved in a program that tortures children, and you think I'm going to think that, oh, you're going to make me pay for what I did as a kid at that age when you are here torturing children? I know the reality of what this is. Yes, it's nada. Because you are there to torture. You are there to, these people are involved in this for the incentives. These fake emotions. How can you be so angry about a child action at that age, but somehow find a way to be so calm when you hear what they do to children in this program? How do you do that? It's because the reality is you're just trying to look for what you can use to try to make yourself believe that you're doing it in some kind of avengement purposes. When in reality, the people who need avengement is for those people who've been suffering for years, seeing the young children being tortured. And participating in this program should be handled accordingly for involving themselves in a program that can do these horrible things to kids. It's truly hell. But it doesn't end here. They torture the whole family. Man, babies are involved in being, like, listen, they do horrible things for purpose of the future technology. It's basically for science, I guess. It's not real science. It's more than just, it's neurotechnology. It's for future technology. They do these horrible things to even infants. As I'm saying that, they're like, oh, you're going to die in hell. I'd rather die in hell than having myself involved in a program where I need to counter the fact that I'm involved in a program that tortures babies, which you're going to hear.
And have had a decent education. I live in El Dorado Hills, California, with my wife of 14 years, Lorna, and our 5 children. Nicole is 15, Patricia 14, Christopher 13, Dylan 9, and Avery 16 months old. Not only have I been going through this, but my entire family has suffered right by my side. We have all experienced the same type of harassment on different levels. We have all suffered the same symptoms while this harassment was going on. Some of our physical symptoms include severe tooth decay and vision loss, unexplained rashes and burns, severe headaches, mood swings, anxiety, thyroid problems, high blood pressure, heart problems, vision loss and cancer. My children were born premature, which I attribute to this. Our son Dylan, now age 9, was born very premature. He was born at 31 weeks. During her pregnancy with Dylan, we were being targeted more so than other times. At the delivery, there were weird men walking and waiting around the hospital. Right outside our delivery room window, there was a white cargo van parked with 2 suspicious men inside. They were there the entire labor, a delivery. Our son had to be transported to another hospital 45 minutes away. When arriving to the Toa hospital, those same men and van were present. Three of my children have severe rashes that have not been explained by several doctors. These rashes have been present for several years at a time. If interested, I will gladly furnish you with detailed photos of the rashes. Our infant daughter, at 3 weeks old, was diagnosed with Lerner's syndrome. This was after a severe rash appeared on her body after a few days of torture. We were told by a couple doctors to take her home and love her and spend the rest of the time we have with her. They told us she would ultimately die from this syndrome. Thank God that Lerner's syndrome was not what affected our daughter. Doctors are still dumbfounded by her rash and symptoms. Sadly, we know that her symptoms were effects from the torture this poor innocent 3-week-old baby endured. Recently, I lost complete time. I exhibited the flashing lights. My 9-year-old son Dylan complained about the lights. You will often hear that vision is something that is greatly affected.
So you hear a whole family, the baby as young as 3 weeks old, thought that this baby girl, this 3 week old baby girl, they thought she was gonna die. And in reality, it was them just doing things to her, harming her with this technology that can do things remotely. And they talk about how they're gonna make me rash, right? Have some rashes and have some, they talk about all this kind of things, which I know is gonna happen. Matter of fact, I know they're going to do even more things because these people wanted to paint this reality that's so falsified. That's now they're talking about how they're going to amputate me. I was like, you know what? I understand why you're doing this because you've been humiliated by reality. For me, they wanted to present themselves as this fierce femme fatale. Right? Matter of fact, they're like, oh, we're going to lose. It's some weird back and forth games they want to play as if I don't know the government's running this program. I know, first of all, and for me, because there's a lot of women involved in it, not even women, females involved in it, they think I should think this is not this like the same program that is out here torturing babies. That the gender should make me think differently about what this is about. And now that they're going to win, the government is going to get what the government wants from me. The Department of Defense, which is what's really behind this, is going to do whatever they want. I don't have, I'm a civilian with very limited resources, and I expect that whatever the government, the Department of Defense wants to have done will be happening. We're talking about the top tier, let me repeat that word, the top tier of governments in charge here. And so these people want to confuse you and make you believe that somehow this is their money, and matter of fact, like I said, this is why they say, oh, we're gonna lose. We're gonna, it's like there's no losing, there's no winning. I'm gonna endure. You're gonna take the step that needs to be the step that needs to be taken in order to do what this program is supposed to get out of me. The results are going, and if they let them, if they let them do extra things, it's because they got what they needed from me, and that's that. Now you can do whatever, That's it. You do whatever, but it's because we want this. You just, it's like killing somebody who's already dead. That's how I compare it to. I'm not dead, but I'm saying that basically they even told me, it's like, he doesn't even know he's dead. He's dead. I mean, what they're doing to my body, I don't think there's things I can come out with alive, but it's because this program has done that to me. So these people who have very limited empowerment in regard of what they can do to them, like what they can, like it gives empowerment. It's intoxicating, right? And I can see why it's intoxicating, and they want me to think in the way they want to think about this. That this their money, they're the one in control. They're not in control. The government is running this program. Whatever is going to happen to me is because the government is having that happen. Now, if they request something to happen to me, it's because the government got what they needed. And so now that point's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Do whatever you need. Like I said, it's like people who wants to, like, it's like me killing somebody or killing an animal and then have my son say, hey, it's you killed him. Good job. Whoa, it's yours. You're so good. You won. The animal it's done. There's nothing the animal could do. This person is going to do something to somebody, to some animal that's no longer alive. Now, same for me as a human being. So I understand. So they play this facade, this PSYOP, right? This PSYOP where they try to play like, where this femme fatale, fierce woman. This PSYOP is non-existent because I know that there's a bunch of females involved in torturing even women in these ways. This program does these horrible things to women. And there's a lot of female participating in the torturing of women. So I don't know why they think that somehow with me I'm going to forget. And on top of that, I know the employer who put me here is very much not a pro-feminist kind of person. But perhaps this is why the PSYOP is created in that way, to make me believe that this came from somewhere else. But listen to this woman really testifying and saying, there's a lot of females involved in this.
But I was going to be shot in the face. And it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, she was shot in the face. Sound like an angry ass old person. Then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Don't get shot in the face. Stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the voices go, it's a bunch of females. And I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them? Basically, they call me retarded bitch and all of this here, but I was.
So you hear this woman saying how there's a lot of females involved in this, especially via V2K, right? She hears them insulting her in all kind of ways, but I know the reality, regardless of it's men or women or whatever via V2K. The reality is this: the Department of Defense is running this program. We're just subjects to this program, test subjects. Listen to this woman, which you heard before. Her name is Lisa Baker, talking to the bioethics and describing what's happening to her.
Military medical research. I too believe my experience is referred to as no-touch torture, utilizing defense technologies. Jonathan Marino, he basically predicted all this a number of years ago in his book Undue Risk. I'm asking you to help initiate a congressional investigation. We've all come a long way. This is what is needed. We want to have the accounts of this extreme human rights abuse that's going on in our country documented and heard, all of the accounts. We also need what was done during the Clinton administration, which is a major declassification of some of these documents that are hiding what's been going on. I speak for many when I say we've suffered long enough. My personal experience has been 10 years. I've been vilified. I've been ostracized. I've been tortured. I have burns on my body. I'm an American. I have rights. The answer to the question, the big question today, could it happen today? The answer is yes, it is happening today. It is happening for some of us every day.
So you have an indication of who's doing this. But to make it more clear, unfortunately, these things has been ongoing for years. To be this good, it means it's been done to a lot of people for a long time. And what is done to a lot of people is a lot of people have been used as test subjects. And these tactics have been created for a long time. When I listen to the testimonies, it's one thing, but there's also like pure like this. I mean, for example, DARPA has been working on technology of that nature for a long time, right? DARPA is part of the DoD. DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Program Agency, or project agency. So the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, and they've been working on technology that is neurotechnological, that's neurofocus, and it goes back in the 50s or 60s. Listen to Project Pandora here. And obviously there's more than that, but just having an idea who's really running the show, the PSYOPS, the way they present themselves, what they try to create, this is about. It's just a way to kind of distract you, not even distract you, disorient you into not seeing things for what they are. Listen to this.
Human mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
So you hear that, right? They've been working on technology that can control human behavior. Matter of fact, they made me say the word distraction. I was trying to say disorient me, but they can force speech. They can create forced speech. And obviously what I'm doing here definitely has some influence, but it's technology. But for me, the way I look at things, right? If they influence me to make videos, this is something I'm okay doing. Because I know that people involved in this, people, as you can hear me, just struggling speaking. I know that people involved in this program, this perps, these civilians contracted, that feel this empowerment and intoxicating empowerment. want to escape, want to enjoy this. They want to enjoy this ability to do these things to people without thinking of the reality of what this means and what it is. And I'm like, okay, if you ever influence me to create videos or do things that bring reality onto these people who have to escape reality to enjoy fully what they're doing, because can you imagine being involved in technology that can completely influence and manipulate a human being, and see how you can control them? Well, so who knows how controlled their life is. I mean, I've interacted with people, I've been around people who take antidepressants, who use ways to drug themselves to feel better. And so when they're involved in this, they feel special and it's intoxicating. They feel like they can control my mind, and they can control somebody else while their life. They live off medications. Now, it's not all of them, but I'm saying this is the sense of empowerment they get. So for me, I want them to enjoy this while seeing things for the reality of what it is, and not this fantasy they've tried to put together to cope with what they're involved in and to enjoy what they're involved in. But one thing you hear here is DARPA. DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. Now, as I said before, initially this started off talking about this pedophilia type of torture. You see how they think that when you're at the age of this kid over there, right, around this age of these kids, what's happening today, the reason why you react to children this way is we're mapping your brain to react the way you reacted when you were the age of these children, which is illogical on its own. It's the stupidity. It's like, of course that's not true, and I was not responding this way, but why would you even try to use that as a logic? I'm a grown man, I know who I am, I'm an adult. You never try to convince somebody into, oh no, what's happening is we're making you think the way you used to think when your brain was still developing. We mapped it to that childhood ways of thinking. And they bring up right now things they've made me experience in this fashion. But we're talking about these entities running this program, right? Obviously, this is Department of Defense project and programs running, and we talk about also CIA involvement, which is perhaps they're working together with perhaps other maybe agencies, but for sure DARPA is involved, for sure DOD is involved, and CIA is strongly, I'm sure it has strong involvement too. But one entity that you cannot take away from this here for sure is the DOD, and the DOD has been having issues for a while. Now let's just start with the 2007 issues that kind of show a disturbing trend that keep coming back, right? And let's remember, they're saying that what's happening to me today, the reason why I'm seeing these babies, especially toddlers, right, in these ways, which is so disgusting, it's because they make me think the way I used to think when I was a child like that. It's so nasty. They make me think of, and they make me think right now of what they made me experience maybe last year or the year before. It's just nasty. While the reality of the entities running this program have had this issue ongoing for years. Now listen to this. This is about Operation Flicker, which is an operation that was done in 2007. The Homeland Security and Customs start investigating this website ran by this organized crime ring based in Belarus and Ukraine, right? They were running this website that's child porn website. It's so nasty. This child porn website had like subscriptions and people were giving their email. And it's just so nasty. For me, they're doing this nasty manipulation, which I'll talk about it later on. They did this investigation and found out that those emails of these people who were getting the subscription, this content on a monthly basis, paying a monthly fee, a lot of them were working for the Department of Defense. Listen to this.
Sensitive secrets, potentially making this. The Defense Department releasing brand new details into an investigation involving child pornography and dozens of its workers and contractors, some with top-level security clearance. Not only are these very serious accusations, but investigators say some of the people involved were handling the nation's most sensitive secrets. potentially making this a matter of national security. Chief Fox Report correspondent Jonathan Hunt with the news. Appalling story, Jonathan. Do we know more about these people and their security clearances?
Well, we don't know their exact job titles, John, but what we do know is that they did appear to be working, some of them, at high levels across a range of government agencies. Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Others also worked on actual military installations, including Edwards Air Force Base in California and also the California-based Naval Air Warfare Center. So they had access to military secrets in some cases and military hardware, John.
Are all these suspects under arrest?
They're not all under arrest. We got 94 pages of investigative material from the Defense Department today, including dozens of specific individuals. They have not all been arrested, though. Some have been tried, some have been sentenced, but the cases simply fell apart because of lack of evidence. And legal experts tell us it is always very difficult to prosecute child porn cases, not least because it's difficult to prove who exactly was on any given.
Did any name of any agency come up that sounds familiar? Listen to this again.
Know more about these people and their security clearances?
Well, we don't know their exact job titles, John, but what we do know is that they did appear to be working, some of them, at high levels across a range of government agencies. Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency.
The last one was DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. It's so nasty. But this is an issue that came up again. We're talking about child porn. Now listen to this 2019 piece about this bill they were passing to help limit what's happening at the time. This is 2019. Listen to this.
Has come under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material. Called Project Flickr, some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD-affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who were being recognized as the ones who were perpetrating this.
So Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, the notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head-on. Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny just going in and out of work, is it fair then to the tens of thousands who are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers?
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography. And when you step into an office, whether it's a Department of Defense office or it's the offices at RT America, wherever you go into an office, you do not have the right to simply use the technology within that office space however you want. And you certainly don't have the right to use it in a criminal manner. So essentially, this bill is trying to do, again, two things. It's trying to limit that and crack down on.
This is disturbing. You heard that there's this trend, this consistent trend that ranked the Department of Defense in regard of trafficking child porn using the Department of Defense network as 19th out of 2,900 network. This is the ranking. This is so much, they are the top tier of trafficking child porn within a DoD network. This is disgusting. You know where this ranking come from? And as you heard, by the way, this bill, what they're trying to do is just to limit and crack down people from the DoD using specifically the DoD devices and network. Let me repeat that. This bill was just to try to stop the use of the devices the DoD and the Pentagon is giving to their employee, because this is what they're using to do this. They're not even using their private computers. And this bill is not trying to figure out what they're doing at home or their private computers, but what they're doing on their computer, on their work computers. It's so disgusting. That shows like the level of disgusting pedophilia issue that's ongoing. What they're like, no, we mapped it to you. You when you're a kid. You see that age over there? We're making you think this way. Can you imagine entities that are running this program, people involved in the program that works for these entities are here trying to make you this stupid? Not only they involved in the program that use children as test subject and harm them for the purpose of this technology that they want to continue increasing sophistication and advancement. But the entities that they're working for, the entities that are running this program, who's really in charge of this, not these bottom feeders that try to create this PSYOPS and try to make themselves seen as like their program, their money. These entities are the true entities behind what's happening to us. The rest is try to disorient you. They want to confuse you into thinking that, oh, look at them. This is them doing this. It's not these entities behind the scene over there running the program. Of course, it makes sense that the DoD is running this program. It's obviously DARPA involvement. This why the entities will have that kind of resources. Will have this kind of financial backup. That anywhere in the world, wherever you go, this is happening to you, and you will be gang stalked. You have people around you involved in this, try to break you down. What other? Only an entity to the level of the DoD can have that kind of accessibility, not even accessibility, that kind of financial aspect of things, and not only the aspect of technology. We talk about defense technology for sure. There is no denying the Department of Defense is involved. And drastically involved. Is probably they're the one running the show, and other entities, other agencies might be jumping in. For sure, the CIA is involved too. But what is an entity that works specifically on advanced research projects that is neurospecific? DARPA, which you heard is one of the entities within the DoD with child porn issues, meaning that they are not only child porn using Department of Defense technology. Department of Defense computers and devices. By the way, the ranking, it came from this Child Protective Service ranked them this way. Listen to this.
Child Pornography Watchdog Internet Crimes Against Children Child Online Protective Services. The Defense Department network consistently ranks in the top tier of internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. It ranked 19th of nearly 3,000 networks surveyed in 2018.
Missed that part. This came from this Child Protective Service, and they kept this ranking. It's not the first time. They've been ranked top tier consistently in regard of trafficking child porn within the network. The DoD network consistently was being ranked top tier, and we talk. This is in 2018. We're not talking about too long ago. in regard to trafficking child porn. Those are the entities running this program. And so this is just a cherry on top of all the validation that they are here telling me, no, what we're doing, we're mapping to you as a child like this. We're mapping to you when you were a kid. We're making your brain being a brain of a child like that. Tell me how I should pay for the dumb thing I did as a kid when they involved in a program that actually used children as test subjects and tortured them the way you heard. By the way, this is not specific to the DOD, huh? The intelligence community had issues with a lot of child porn within these agencies. Listen to this. This is the BuzzFeed article that came out in 2022. It was December 2021.
2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexual...
This is a CIA agent that was caught doing things to a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. A CIA agent. He was just simply fired. No persecution, no nothing. They knew he did something to a 2-year-old and 6-year-old. Nothing happened to him. They just let him go and that was it. He's still in the streets and whatever's happening is happening.
Explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that she mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. But sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening in the general evil?
Ali, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind?
So, you heard that. It's disgusting. But it is a trend. It's a consistent trend that you keep hearing this. Now, I gotta say the things these perps are saying they're gonna do. I already mentioned that there's neighbors that sound like children saying that they're gonna frame me and make it seem like I did something to these kids. Matter of fact, I went to the elevator earlier on, and this woman coming from the next door neighbor, she said something. She's 13 years old, and I think what they're trying to create, right? And they like I said, they like it's method act, like it's just they stay within the character, right? And they tell me how they're gonna frame me, and they're gonna say I did something to this 13-year-old kid. It's nasty. Matter of fact, there's some two little nasty. I don't want to insult. I'm just gonna maintain my calm. And there's some kids over there that they're say that they're gonna frame you and say that I did something too, or something happened there. In my last videos, I talked about how these kids try to make themselves walk in these ways, and it's just like disgusting. And I made a few videos about how they try to create this, and these kids go on a full on like because they can manipulate my perceptions. They can manipulate how I see things and perceive things. So these kids are fully aware of that. They know the technology has the ability to make me experience things the way they want me to experience things. They know the level and sophistication of this technology. I think everybody here knows more than I do. More than I even have an idea. They know the ability to manipulate the brain in whatever ways. But they're acting according. So when they make you experience these things, they're like, oh no, it's you, and they get all mad. It's like shit, trash. But they tell me how they're gonna frame me. They tell me how they're gonna frame me, but by saying that I did something to a child, and they're gonna do that. And every time they say that's like, oh, we do that because we're gonna pay for what you did as a kid. You abuse. When the reality, they involve in a program that literally do these horrible things you heard to children. And they truly are the people who abuse children via whatever defense technology they're using. It's disgusting. Another tactic they've been trying to create, another way they've been telling me how they're going to frame me, is that they're going to implant child porn, right? And they try to sound fierce about it. Now you hear that these entities that they work for have been having issues with child porn. There's been a consistent issue with child porn being trafficked within the network, right? And we're talking about people working for entities where there's a lot of child porn moving around the entities that contract this low life. And they tell me that is going to be what they do to me. They're going to implant child porn. So basically, content of some nature that shows children being sexually tortured. It's so disturbing. And I've shown videos on how they try to counter that. We talk about worst of hip-hop and think it's just nonsensicalness. Well, the reality of what's going on in these entities. But in fact, what's happening to my memories too, what the things they've been trying to create is because they really want me to be identifying to these manipulations. And also, they've been trying to make me believe that this is the kind of things I've watched before, the trash us. And what they've done, is there's a lot of mind games. Because they bring up some adult content I've watched, right? Some a little bit more on the aggressive, dominant side things of adult content, right? And they're like, you see, we know that you watch this adult content, so that we know it. So that means that we know that you also do these things that is pedophilia centric. It's so disgusting. Because what they're saying is they're going to implant child porn to frame me in that nature. And so now try to make me imagine. And because they have the ability, like this man said, this is not reality. It's like a synthetic reality that you're in, that things are manipulated to think in whatever ways. And so they try to really make me imagine me watching child porn. Truly. Me actually watching child porn. And try to create these thoughts in my head. And then like, no, but remember the worst of hip-hop that you didn't see? You looked it up. It's like, you just created. I've never seen this thing. You're trying to make me imagine that. Because they work for entities that have issue with child porn. And so now they're implanting child porn on my phone. And you hear the noise campaign. Because they even try to normalize implantation of child porn from entities where they're ranked 19th. And been consistently ranked as top tier in regard to child porn trafficking. It is disgusting because they not only harm children in this program, the entities that run this program are a threat to children because the amount of child porn that comes from these entities means there's a lot of pedophiles that are literally working in this DOD, in these entities, in these agencies. So they are a threat to children in that nature. And, even when they catch these people doing things to 6-year-old and 2-year-old, they don't even put them in jail. They don't even prosecute them. They let them go, just go on and whatever. Some of them are nothing happens to them. They stay in, working for the CIA, working for the DOD, in whatever agencies, DARPA. So in these ways, these people are foul and disgusting human beings. And that's why, in a lot of my videos, you hear me say, thank you, God. Thank you. Because I could have been living life the way they live. They're so intoxicated by the empowerment they get out of this that now at this point, child porn is nothing for them. Child porn is nothing. They can try to sound fierce, saying, we're going to die. We're going to put child porn. It's like, ugh, you nasty bottom feeder. Thank God I never got to the point where I worked for any program or entity where I would say these things. And try to normalize saying these things and doing these things to people. that implanting child porn is what I want to do. They try to use anything they can to disorient me and to make me think in these retardations. And they're truly, and I won't be surprised. And they call it daring to implant child porn. But the truth is, it's not even daring, because according to Child Protective Services, there has been a high ranking in regard to volume of child porn coming from the entities that contract these daring people. It's disgusting. So I'm thankful to God. And this is why they don't like to be seen by me, because I see them for the nasty low-life pedos that they are, involved in a program that abuses children, uses defenses technology, cowards low-life that torture children and women, and work for pedophiles, and then implant child porn into people's computers and try to sound fierce doing that. Death comes to all of us. Like I said, target individual, one thing you have to see yourself as a dignified human being. They have coward people interacting with me via V2K, telling me how they're going to implant child porn to frame me. And still using this tonality, because they like to create this this tonality of try to sound fierce. Still try to present this feminism, this femme fatale PSYOP, that because these people are presenting these ways, that implanting child porn will be seen as a radical, fierce thing to do. So this is the reality of things. I make these videos because there'll be a point where I will never see things the right way. And I will never let that happen. There's plenty of testimony of how they've done the horrible things to women. I can bring another testimony here that shows how this woman has been raped. Matter of fact, let me just bring a little bit of it and just wrap up with that.
I had, and they had, all of a sudden, I had been there like 4 or 5 days, and then used their telephone so I could make airline, flight, because all I wanted to do was leave Chicago. And so I figured I'd make my plans in a hotel. I didn't think that they could hack the hotel. I was very naive back then. I didn't understand the full technology spectrum or even interest, and all I wanted to do was leave. So I was at a hotel on a relatively high floor, and they had... all of a sudden, I had been there like 4 or 5 days, and the night before I was attacked really bad, I noticed a maintenance man about 10 or 11 o'clock at night messing with all of the lights up and down the hallway. And as, I'm sorry, I get kind of upset when I think about this because it's really messed up. And my spidey sense went off, and I was really kind of nervous about like what the hell he was doing out there, because he was kind of a sinister, he was real creepy kind of person. So so the next night, I believe it was a Friday night, I went to bed. I had all of the doors, all the locks on the door, even the one that kind of like goes over that you can't open from the outside. I had everything locked up. Figured I was safe. I went to bed maybe about 1 o'clock in the morning. I woke up about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, bleeding out of every hole, sick. Someone was in my room, or had been in my room. Food was missing. My dogs were traumatized. I had been obviously sexually assaulted in all the worst ways possible. I got up, first thing I did was vomit. And all I wanted to do was I was just in shock. There was a do not disturb sign on my door. And I didn't do this. And there was lotion all over my bathroom floor. All I wanted to do was just get on a plane and get the hell away from everybody. And I was, very, very sick and in a lot of pain. I had already been denied a rape kit when I owned my house, and woke up, and my hair had obviously been pulled out, and there were earplugs in my bed. And I felt like someone had done something. I went to Payless Community Hospital under the directions of a non-compromised police officer who told me that if anything happened, to go right to the hospital. So I did. And I had a compromised doctor who treated me like a third-rate citizen and said she would give me an STD test and a drug test. But she refused me a rape kit.
So you hear some of the horrible testimonies of this woman, where not only they be raped and then refuse rape kits. I was hearing this person say, you're gonna ride hell, we're gonna implant child porn, and try to say, like, listen, this is the people that are doing these things to women. You heard what they do to children, and you hear the nasty consistency that's happening in these entities. I'd rather ride in hell than live in this paradise that they're living in. But can you imagine that life, that you live a life doing that? It's funny, they would tell me that they're going to do this and then they're going to go on vacation. I was like, my gosh, can you imagine going on vacation after you've just been manipulating men and women, or men in this case, or me in this case, in these pedophilia ways? You talk about implanting child porn. That means that you yourself have access to child porn, and you implanted child porn. Then you're supposed to go live and enjoy vacation and whatever you do, and think that life is going to be great for you. When you live that kind of life, I'm sure they expect the time for it to come back at a good way. But a lot of them are childlike individuals, and so they don't have the concept of understanding how things comes back when you involve yourself in that level of disturbingness. So for me, I'm just thankful to God. You heard all of these horrible things. And as I was listening to that, they were trying to make me think of this woman called Courtney, where they try to present it as if they're doing it for her. Can you imagine trying to represent her, Courtney, when you're involved in a program that does these things to women? Sometimes the way they even hype themselves up is based on the manipulation. I was in a meeting, and there was this woman, right? Because they're involved in this program, they know what's going to happen to me, they know these disgusting things. They were forcing me to get sexual stimulation toward her, even though she's a person that's, she's an adult woman around my age or so. They will make me have this perception and have me have this perception toward her, and I recognize it as even though this is a woman, she's not a bad looking woman, this is forced onto me. But she'll go and play along with it. It's like, oh, rotten hell. And she'll look at it, it's like, you're such a clown. But for me, I'd rather die in hell. I don't want to die in hell, but I'd rather die in hell. If I had to choose between living in this paradise where they do these things to people, I'm not talking about these perps, right? Living in the comfort, being functioning, or at least whatever version of function they are in, but meaning that it means that I'm going to be involved in a program where we make people think in the pedophilia ways, torture children, torture women, implant child porn, and work for entities that's being ranked top tier in regard of trafficking child porn. I'd rather ride in hell. To my target individual, I'd rather death is better and suffering is better than live in these disturbing ways these people live, and the way they cope reality. You cannot live in cowardness, in foulness, in low-lifeness for this long and not expect things to come back to you. This sufferings we go through has a dignity. We've been dignified. I don't want to put things into a religious perspective, because this is not religious, this is really technological. But there is there's some kind of religious aspect of things that you have to look into it. Because I do not want to trade places with anybody who says they're going to implant child porn. There's absolutely no way I would want to trade places with them, and I know I'm going to be tortured in horrible ways. Because we're talking about people saying they're going to frame me by implanting child porn, and having their children say that I did something to them is disgusting. So I'd rather die in hell. But these people, what's life after that? They go to the next target individual, do that to that person too? Jesus. To all my target individual, stay strong.